director of our meditation is Barbara Hill. Barbara. How do I follow that up? Good morning. I hope you're all feeling fine today. I have a feeling that we're a group of optimists. And the pessimists who thought it was going to rain stayed home. So that's good.
It rained in San Antonio.
Okay, so it's raining somewhere. So there are many things that we can't change that can make us feel a bit down. But there is one thing we can almost always change that will make us feel better. And that is our attitude. As a kid, I often heard my parents tell me, "You need to change your attitude, young lady." As a young person, I didn't want to hear that. But as an adult, I find myself telling myself that frequently. I need to change my attitude. I can change my attitude. I'll never forget when my 15-year-old son, Michael, told me that one of the most important things he learned at a youth leadership camp could be summed up in 3 words. And then he told me, everything, attitude is everything. I thought, really? How could that be? Then Michael shared how easy it was to change his attitude, and immediately he'd feel better. He gave examples of how different challenging, unpleasant situations seemed to become easier for him when he changed his thinking and his attitude. I have found it easiest to change my attitude when I focus on things that I'm grateful for. So let's take the next couple of minutes and sit in silence. Relax, exhale, let go of all your concerns, and allow yourself to focus on things you're grateful for. And allow yourself to feel peaceful and content in this moment. May we all feel and find peace in the rest of this day and all the days ahead. Thank you. So we'll get on with our program. We have 2 wonderful writers who are going to take turns at the podium. When I first signed them up, I thought they were both memoirists, but I learned later that one of them really is only partially so. I'll let you decide who's sort of fictionalizing the work. Our first speaker will be Carol Bradley, a Canadian retiree living and writing on the south shore of Lake Chapala with her husband Ian and 2 rescue dogs.
She has 5 stories in an anthology that's forthcoming. All Our Words Needed Saying, which will be published this fall. My Father's Walking Stick won the Ojo de Lagos Best Feature Article Award for 2013. I think we'll have Carol now, and then we'll introduce Bobby Johns just before he speaks. Carol?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And thank you all for coming. I know it was supposed to rain, but we're all good. I'd like to thank the Lake Chapala Society and Open Circle for inviting me today. And I'm glad to share this time with Bobby Johns. And I'm thrilled to be able to tell you a story today, The Shadow of a Star Chief. Eleanor Davenport always wore gloves. Her wardrobe was filled with crinolines, expensive shoes, and fine dresses that enhanced her trim figure. She embellished her hats with extra ribbons, a bow, or feather. Her gloves were embroidered with delicate flowers. Stems were the ribbons of thin green silk. I marveled at her while my brother and I squirmed under our mother's scowls in the pew on Sundays. I thought Mrs. Davenport looked like royalty. Perhaps that's why after her sister died, she always sat alone, close to the front. She always sat alone, close to the front. Most folks thought royalty was uppity. Eleanor Davenport drove a sea mist green 1959 Pontiac Star Chief with sweeping fenders, a Continental kit, and white wall tires that always looked brand new. The hot summer sun glinted off the windows and made me squint as I held my hand up like a salute to shield my eyes. She drove out of the church parking lot with the window rolled down and wore a large feathered straw hat and white cat-eye sunglasses. A gloved hand floated close to the open window with a tortoiseshell cigarette holder aimed like a loaded pistol. I didn't know how much the shadow of that car and Eleanor Davenport would loom over my life. "She's quite the dame," my father said, as we all stared at the Star Chief parked on a side street beside the bank, a small whimsical smile on his lips. "She's got a boyfriend," my mother purred, as my father wheeled our station wagon onto the main street. My father shot a look over his big framed glasses. "No," he said. "Why not? She was certainly attractive in her day. I thought Mrs. Davenport was quite attractive. Her day wasn't that long ago, you know," my father said. "No more than yours." Mildred told me at Bunko, "By the way, it's my turn to hostess Bunko next month. I want it to be a nice show with nifty little sandwiches." I tuned her out and watched the watery heat mirage hover over the street. It made Mrs. Williams walking nearby look wavy and unstable under the weight of her advancing pregnancy. "Look at that," my mother hissed, poking her head toward Mrs. Williams. "She shouldn't be out in public in that condition." I wondered what was wrong with Mrs. Williams' condition. My father spun the big steering wheel back into a spot, looking over his shoulder and his big glasses. "I have to go into the bank," was all he said. I went in with him, trying to match his long strides. My mother went into Mr. Longstaff's general store to buy a few groceries. The fuss she made over fresher produce at this particular store was a bit too loud when anyone was nearby. All our groceries came from Mr. Longstaff's store. None of the others allowed people to buy on credit. I don't recall any of the women in town having a job except Eleanor Davenport. She typed letters for the bank manager on her gray Smith Corona typewriter. I watched her sitting at her big wooden secretarial desk wearing a pretty dress, her back straight. She didn't look at her hands while she typed. I thought she was magic. Perhaps that was another point of resentment against Mrs. Davenport. No one valued her independence. No one thought being a housewife was a real job and there was nothing shameful in being pregnant. My mother volunteered at the ladies' auxiliary at church. They needed something to distract them from their lives, unremarkable lives, full of child-rearing, gossiping, house cleaning, and husband feeding. My mother had a talent for painting. There was a neglected art book with drawings of Blondie and Dagwood in a trunk in the basement. She gave it up. Her invalidism was complete. The ladies relished their bingo, a dice game where the players moved around to different tables to keep the conversation fresh. My mother enlisted my services when Mrs. Williams' labor forced her to cancel. She made me have a bath and wear a dress. We all helped set up collapsible card tables in our TV room in the basement. Not there, over there. Make sure everything is perfect, she commanded, fluttering around with her hair wrapped on wire rollers. I rolled my eyes at my father as we exchanged a conspiratorial grin behind her back. All the bunco fuss made me curious. I occupied my place for the game. There were extravagant tin salmon sandwiches with the crusts cut off, iced lemonade, and small gifts my mother wrapped in fancy cellophane paper for the high scorers. A booby prize for the lowest scorer was wrapped in newspaper. I ate several little sandwiches, more than my share, and wondered why we didn't have food prepared with such extra attention more often. I came to understand, years later, the main attraction was the gossip and camaraderie between these sometimes lonely, desperate women trapped in circumstances they had little control over, even though many of their friendships were strained, cold, and competitive. Mildred kept my mother busy. I knew she wouldn't notice how many sandwiches I ate. They were huddled together in whispered conversations in the corner. My mother looked sad. Mildred took long drags from her cigarette, being the sympathy roll, spiking their lemonade with gin. After all the bunco tables and dishes were cleared up and the cigarette smoke had dissipated, my brother Wes and I sat in our pajamas watching TV. The unfinished cavernous TV room exposed the floor joists up to the plywood floor above. The tiled floor had a giant checkerboard in the middle. Sometimes we played checkers with painted black and red tobacco tin lids. Sound echoed. My father came home late. His shoes made a loud, authoritative clomp on the tile floor. We had never heard our parents argue before that night. I Love Lucy was on TV. All I remember was my mother's voice, desperate and angry, mixed in with Lucy's laugh track. She sat there, waiting for him in the living room, ready to throw his betrayal in his face. I stared at the TV, seeing nothing. I glanced at Wes. His eyes were wide and blank. My father's low voice muffled his words. I didn't understand everything, but I recognized Eleanor's name, and my mother saying he shamed her. When his chair scraped the floor and his loud shoes moved toward where I imagined her sitting, I clamped my cupped hands to my ears to block out the sounds. Wes sat transfixed. I would recall that night many times throughout my life as dark and frightening. Later that week, I rode my bike around town. Eleanor lived on the last street. A for sale sign hung on her fence between the red geraniums. She was taking down the white lace curtains from the open kitchen windows. She smiled and waved to me. "Hello, Julie." She had a happy voice. I called back, "Hello, Mrs. Davenport," and wondered if her moving had anything to do with my mother yelling her name that night after bunco. No one ever talked about that night. Images and suspicions worsened over the years in all our minds. My mother let her bitterness and accusations of everything my father did build like thunderheads. My father began to swallow his anger with rum. The shadow of that star chief would darken many nights for our parents, and all our lives went on. My brother and I grew up and moved away from that dusty prairie town. No one ever heard from Eleanor Davenport again. I moved to a big city, then another, had 2 children and a career. I blamed my parents' misery and lack of trust for my failure in finding true love. Not until middle age and looming retirement did love find me. My husband and I retired early and moved to a small dusty town in the mountains of Mexico. The day I first saw Eleanor dawned like every other, quiet, calm, lush and green, and not a wisp of a breeze. I drove into the village. In the small plaza, señoras set up collapsible tables under ragged tarps to sell fruits and vegetables. I had no reason to look up from the rickety table loaded with bright red tomatoes at just that moment. The street was always busy and boisterous. I caught a glimpse of a big car with white wall tires. I held up my hand, salute light, to shield my eyes from the radiant sunshine. Through the open car window, I saw a tiny woman with a flowered straw hat in the driver's seat. It can't be, I said to my husband that afternoon. She's got to be well into her 90s. I had no idea what Eleanor's age would have been when I was a child. Every adult looked old. Do you remember Eleanor Davenport? I asked my brother. We talked on those Sunday mornings. Sure, said Wes. She had that great car. Why? I think I saw her in the village here. She's driving a different car, a big Cadillac, but it sure looked like her. I could sense his reluctance in the silence. He was remembering her too, remembering a big car and a long shadow it cast had not yet seen the light. She's got to be well into her 90s, he said. Yeah, I thought the same thing, reaching into memories of sunny small town days. What do you remember? Wes, a few years older than me, always knew more. He told me about the night we were watching TV in the basement. He heard the entire argument. Wes went on. She threatened if he wouldn't end it with Eleanor, she would expose him to the community as a liar and a cheat. He told her over and over they were friends, and all they did was talk. I sat there listening to the story of the night our parents started hating each other, the night our lives changed forever. I looked out the window at the flowers blooming in my garden and wondered if it really was Eleanor Davenport living so close. Was she looking out into her garden too? Did she have any regrets? I always thought Dad was having an affair with Eleanor, Wes said. That's why she moved away. The church ladies were pretty hard on her. An affair? My voice was edgy and incredulous. I didn't hear Dad's responses. All I remember was Mom saying something about Eleanor. Stories lost in time came back to me of my parents in their youth. He was a proud, vain man, my mother, beautiful and compliant. They met at a summer Bible camp when my father was destined for the church, according to his overbearing mother. She believed he married beneath his station. My mother never let him forget any fault my grandmother wouldn't acknowledge. Only after he died did she once again pick up a paintbrush. Wes and I talked a little longer. How are the grandkids, I asked, growing like weeds? How's the weather? The same small talk we've been having for decades. Dad had an affair with Eleanor Davenport, I said to my husband after I hung up. Was that really her living in our village? I had to find out. Ruby would know. Ruby Celine, an 80-something quintessential Southern belle with a smooth drawl, a matter-of-fact attitude, and a wardrobe of chandelier earrings, lived just up the road from us. Ruby knew everyone and everything about the goings-on in the village. Do you know a woman that drives a big Cadillac? I asked her over morning coffee on her patio. Sure, that's Eleanor. She's lived here longer than even me, and I've been here 35 years. That woman has got to be into her 90s. She said between sips of sweet tea and long drags on her Marlboro menthol. She's like you. She says she's writing a book. Apparently she had quite the time. In her younger life, I mean, Ruby said. I wanted to hear more. I'm still waiting, and it's been more than 15 years. She laughed a deeply raspy smoker's laugh. I would like to meet her sometime, I said, reaching down to pet Ruby's little dog. Perhaps I could talk to her about writing her book. Well, I'm having tea with her on Saturday. It has to be tea. I don't think she has ever tasted coffee or a shot of bourbon, for that matter. I'll tell her I'm bringing you along. Ruby never seemed to need permission. I was anxious that Saturday morning. Eleanor hadn't left my thoughts since I saw Ruby. I didn't want to burst into her life and say, hello, I'm the daughter of the man you screwed around with 50 years ago. Thanks for ruining my mother's life. My plan was to meet with her under the dubious expectation that I would help her with her book. I hoped she would fall for it and not think me presumptuous. Ruby got into my car with a waft of cigarette smoke and a smile, dressed to the nines as usual, glittering earrings dusted her shoulders. Her little dog sat in the crook of her arm like a handbag. I wore a nice summer dress on the conservative side and spent more time than usual on my hair. Well, don't you look lovely, Ruby said in her southern drawl that always makes me smile. Thank you. I tried not to look nervous. Her Cadillac was parked in the driveway, waxed to a reflective shine, white wall tires without a scuff. I remembered my brother and me making faces like a funhouse mirror in the gleaming reflection of the mist green star chief. Her small house had white lace curtains in the window. She met us at the door. Hello, Ruby. Her voice was firm and gentle as they embraced. It was nice to see warm, genuine friendship between two women. She wore a cotton dress with a full skirt and a fitted bodice, and ballet flats. She was still quite the dame. Ruby waved toward me. "This is Julie. She's a writer, too. I sure hope to see that book of yours before I die." Eleanor offered her graceful hand, a hand coddled in gloves for decades with outlines and blotches. She wore pale pink lipstick on her small mouth and a confident smile. Her keen eyes never left my face, eyes that took in everything, like a circus guesser. "Hello, Mrs. Davenport," I said, taking her hand. "Please," she said, "call me Eleanor." I felt at ease in her warm presence. She served tea in fine china teacups and squares on matching sandwich plates. She decorated her kitchen with cherry tea towels and a crisp linen tablecloth embroidered with flowers and thin ribbons for stems. The floors were tiled black and white, like a checkerboard. I don't remember what the conversation was about. What's your age, your hometown, your last name? Irrelevant questions she either already knew the answers to or didn't care. I looked at her lovely face and knew what my father saw in her, even after so many years. She was polite, refined, and her voice clear and soft, like music, joyful music. On my second visit, Eleanor placed an old hat box on the kitchen table after she poured tea. This is where she squirreled away the details of her life. "I haven't looked in here for years. This is all I have left. I didn't know where to start. I want to do this before I pass on." Eleanor was looking in the box, keen eyes brimming with flashes of years long gone. I guess she didn't have any family left. I stood to open the lid. It was like a treasure chest, filled with flower-covered journals, yellow newspaper clippings of celebrities on the Italian and French Riviera, photos of her with a dashing Prince of Monaco, a party at the Cannes Film Festival in 1959. In one photo, with her head tilted back, she was laughing, dabbling her feet in the water, with her shoes in one hand and her Count's arm in the other. His eyes twinkled only for her. That summer, I drove into town every Saturday to visit with Eleanor. We pored over souvenirs of her life. She told me about the Italian count who had proposed marriage until his mother stood in the way. His mother thought he was marrying beneath his station. "Perhaps it was for the best," she said. "I didn't want a life of misery and resentment." She looked into my eyes like she wanted to say more. I relished every minute with Eleanor, not only for the freewheeling exotic lifestyle she lived with the rich and famous on the beaches of the Mediterranean, but for the tender and turbulent times with her Count and his family. Over the weeks, my needs faded. She pulled another journal out of the box. The label stated the name of a dusty town on the prairies I knew so well. This is when I went to stay with my sister Violet when she was ill. There was no point in staying in Italy. I arrived only for Violet to pass on after a few months. I opened the cloth-covered book with trembling hands. Then I saw his name, John Morgan, my father. I stifled the breath caught in my throat. Eleanor spoke about the gentleman she met and became friends with. He was gallant, educated, and attractive, not like the other men in the town. He sat in my kitchen drinking tea some evenings. She picked up her cup and slowly sipped her tea. He needed someone to talk to. His wife was so busy with children, trying to keep up appearances with the church ladies, all the while struggling with a limited budget. She couldn't confide in any of her friends about her situation for fear of judgment. Women were expected to put up and shut up in those days. There was no judgment in her voice, only kindness. I imagine my father sitting there in her cheerful kitchen, his skinny legs crossed high at the thigh, always right over left. They discussed books, philosophy, and history, conversations neither of them had with anyone else in the community. I knew now that Eleanor had not had an affair with my father. She was only being a friend to a man attempting to bolster faltering hopes and dying dreams. I knew she had compassion for my mother, lost in a world of keeping up appearances, wearing threadbare homemade clothes so he could buy a new car and build a new house. I knew Eleanor would never be anyone's mistress, ridiculed in a small town where appearances meant more than genuine friendship and petty gossip ruined lives. I forgave my parents' flawed, influential relationship. They were doing the best they could with what they had in a life doomed by family meddling and interrupted by 5 years of war that stripped away their sheltered expectations of life. The long shadow cast over my heart was gone. I misunderstood her labored sigh for difficulty in recalling distant memories. I didn't know how ill she was, and this would be the last time I would see her. I went there the next Saturday morning. The Cadillac was gone. I went to the door. There were no lace curtains. The empty house and checkerboard floor leaned back at me. I drove straight to Ruby's and burst onto her patio. She came to the door. "Oh, Julie, I'm so sorry. Eleanor died." I barely heard her next word, something about Eleanor being sick for a while, but never telling anyone. Isn't that just like Eleanor, never admitting to getting old? Ruby attempted to fill the uncomfortable void of my silence. "When?" I said in an unrecognizable voice. "Sunday. Her son came over from Italy to consult her doctors. He spent all week emptying out her house before he called me. He said she left a few things for me and a letter for you. He came here on his way to the airport." Her son from Italy? Eleanor hadn't told me about a son. "I thought you were writing her life story." Ruby looked at me like I was daft. "Yes, he left last night." "She left me her hats," Ruby sighed, motioning to the stack of hat boxes on the floor inside the door. I rushed past her to see them, expecting the old hat box with all the souvenirs to be one of them. It wasn't there. "Here's a letter to you," Ruby said with a note of concern in her voice. "I'm sorry," I said. "I was expecting a box with photos and newspaper clippings. Did you see one?" "No, just the letter. He gave away the furniture and threw everything else out." She handed me the envelope. I slid it into my pocket. I wanted to read it when I was alone. I thanked Ruby and left while she waved a hand and offered a coffee. I sat down in my garden with a cup of tea in a fine china cup and opened the letter. "Dearest Julie, if you are reading this, I did not come home from my appointment with the doctor. I've been ill for a while. I'm sorry for not telling you, but I so enjoyed our time together. I did not want to spoil it with such trivialities." "Trivialities," I said out loud to the air. "You were dying, Eleanor." "You gave me something very special. You gave me your friendship, and I cherish it and will for eternity." I stopped again. Tears filled my eyes. She was thankful we became friends. I felt hideous for my false pretenses that brought us together and what my family thought she was all those years. "Finish your book, Julie. You will be a wonderful writer. You deserve the happiness you have fought so hard for. Whatever you decide to do with the partial story I gave you, I'm joyful in the giving. Your loving friend, Eleanor Davenport. P.S. You look exactly like your beautiful mother."
Brought tears to my eyes. Thank you so much, Carol. What a gifted writer. We're so lucky to have you with us now. Now comes what calls himself comic relief. Bobby John's. Bobby John's delightful stories are pure memoir spiced with his idiosyncratic brand of Cornish wit and enthusiasm. He just bubbles with positive energy and love. Shucks, he says. The wondrous life, his words, of Bobby Johns began in Cornwall, UK. He graduated as a production engineer, became an educator, and was employed as a teacher, lecturer, and counselor for boards of education in Cornwall. In Northumberland County, Ontario, Canada, for 12 years he was a teacher instructor for the Faculty of Education, Queen's University. Bobby has written 2 books, Adventures of a Young Cornishman and Continuing Adventures of a Cornishman. Not so young, I guess. He now lives with us in Mexico. Let's welcome Bobby Johns.
Good morning. Good morning. Ooh, I didn't switch on the mic. It's the first time in 60 years that I've had to use it. Wow, I can hear me. I'm mic. So if I'm overly loud, please forgive me. I stand before you a privileged man because I am a Cornishman. Many of you probably don't know the nation of Cornwall, the Duchy of Cornwall, or its location. Before I begin my story, I would like to set the stage and read to you a description of my unique country. And unique it is. In my time, 5 Celtic languages was spoken over a distance of 120 miles by 55 miles wide. Bear with me now and listen to my description of Cornwall. Raging rollers, born of wild wind waves, rid jackets of foam, and pound the shore. Through the ages it's been so. Miners tunnel in the ground below, and farmers their fields do sow, and fishermen shelter from the blow. A land of vales, tors, and flowing rills, peopled by the stout at heart. Beaten fires render near families far apart. Castles for kings and lords grace headlands and open walls. The chuff, its beak of red stained by King Arthur's blood, 'tis said that when seen again, Arthur will once more reign. Now the Cornish flag flaps flying high beneath St. Beron's ever watchful eye. Triumph of good over evil has won the miner's cry. An unstable, with its 15 pieces of gold collected from the young and old, a ransom raised for the Duke of Cornwall. Cornish unite, together stand, anthem the words, song of the Western man. Now that's the country about which I write, as the villages and the families. And this is a book of love. It also takes the prize. This book is one of the most badly written. It contains more grammatical errors. A run-on sentence chases a dangling participle at every page. My publisher said to me, I am unique. And indeed I am. 3 tenses in 2 sentences. What more can a man ask? I was born of what they called in the 30s low station. My father, a common farmer. My mother, a servant to the gentry at Garth House. We were treated badly. I was born at 3 o'clock in the morning in a farm cot, miles from anywhere. And for the first 3 years, 3.5 years of my life, I played with no child my age, neither did I mix with any child my age. For 3.5 years, I was surrounded by adults, treated as an adult, and I guess that helps me now. I don't know. But anyway, this is what happened. Dad came home from the field one day. He said, "Here, boy, come over here. Come over here. Sit on that step." And I did. And I looked up at my dad, and he said, "Now I got a bit of good news for you, maybe. But we're leaving this place." "Leaving?" said I. "Yes, leaving. But what about my pets? What about my babies? They'll go with you. You don't have to worry about that." Now, why I'm talking to you like this is for this reason. Now listen, and listen good. These are going to become a member of a village, surrounded by people for the first time, by children for the first time, and they're going to ridicule you because you got nothing. We don't have nothing. But I want you to remember this, that in this bloody house, we got love. We have love, and the kettle groans with plain food, but it groans. Now be good, be strong, be ready to move. And this is where one of my stories begins. 1936. Father turns up one Friday morning with 2 cart horses, named Baldwin and Captain. They're hitched to the loaded cart, and we gather around the cart, and I look at my family, and I look at my possessions, and a feeling of sadness comes over me. "Is that everything?" Dad shouts. "Yes, love. Let's help Mom up in the back," replies. And Granny sorts of climbs up and is pulled up by Dad and pushed by Mom, and she is seated in an armchair at the back of this loaded wagon. "Comfy, eh?" "Yes, thank you," she says in a very feeble, small voice. "Well then, we're off. Up you get, Bob." I get onto the front seat board. Mom sits on my left. Dad, reins in hand, takes the right side. And with a click of his tongue and a slap of the leather reins, we're off. The wheels crunch the gravel onto the steel rims. The wood of the wagon creaks and the hooves give a click and a clop, reminding me of that broken bell in the valley. The going is slow, the horses ploddingly pulling the load. And as we reach the corner, my corner, the one I've wonderingly watched all of my life, I feel compelled to stand on my seat and look back. The house, hugged by converging red hedgerows, looks so small, so very alone. I lift my hand and wave bye to the only home I've known. I sit down, and over the broad backs of the cart horses, a new road is seen. A new road to a new life, I think. The sound of the hooves and the creaking lulls me into a shallow slumber. And Dad's voice awakens me. "This is Lower Kielum, Bob. We'll turn left at the square. Our cottage, down the road, our new home." I'm really excited now. And passing more houses and several orchards, we stop at a row of cottages, semi-detached they're all. Our number is 3, the lost one. Upon stopping, our new neighbors come out to greet us. I've never seen so many in one house before. Dad says, "Meet the Cock family, Bobby." This rather attractive gray-haired lady came to me and gave me a hug. "You must be Bob. Welcome to Prairie Cottages. Let me introduce you to my children." children. They're big. This is Jack. He is the oldest. We call him Bugby. Then this is Rex. We call him Tickler. Here is Bob, like you. We call him Porky. And then there's Betty. She's my only daughter. Oh, there you are, Donald. Come here and meet your new friend, Bob. And turning to me, she says, incidentally, we call him Dickie. She turns to Mom and Dad and Granny, and they enter into the world of adult language. Just then, a tall, good-looking man runs across the road. Hello, everyone. I'm Jack, Bessie's husband, and the dad of this tribe. I like him. He comes over and ruffles my hair. You're one tall boy, he says. How old are you? I tell him. He says, you're going to be a bloody licker. Licker? I better go with that. Mrs. Scott pipes up. I have a pot of tea on the stove. You must be tired after your journey. Come in, have a quick one. Then the boys will help you unload. Meanwhile, Donald, why don't you take Bob and show him around? Now, don't go too far away. They file into the Cox cottage. Come on, says Dickie. Come on, I'll show you the minute. And upon entering the small field, I see there are pigs, cows, and chickens. And I feel at home. Donald, I say, I've got to have a pee. I have to have this pee. Where can I go? To my surprise, he said, oh, goody, 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 goody. Goody. We can have a contest. Come over here to the garage. He starts to move to this huge wooden shed whilst I'm doing his fly fly. Have you got a big one? Big one. Big, of course. Well, I don't rightly know. Let's have a look. He steps in front of me and says, not too awfully big, is it? But it'll grow, Bob, trust me. It'll grow. Look at me, he says. And he shows me it. And I say, I see what you mean. Wow. Don't worry, Bob, it'll grow. Now for the contest. We'll see who can be the highest on this garage wall. By now I'm on the point of bursting. Can I go first? And without waiting for a reply, I lean back and let it go, and my golden arc reaches a goodish height. Not bad. Not bad, said Diggy. Not good enough, though. And he leans back and releases his pent-up water. Boy, am I impressed. The garage walls marked a good foot above my water line, and I also notice that he leans back to make it go higher. I'm going to keep that in mind. Do you want to see your pets? Do I? Follow me. And we go down behind the row of cottages, and I see that each cottage has a very long, narrow garden. And at the bottom of each, there is a building built of cob, and then whitewashed. Here they are, Dickie says, and we stop before my hutches. Everything looks good to me, and the straw is clean, and the food fresh. Did you look after them? Me and my dad. I like Jack Cock all the more. Do we want to see your cricket? He goes to the building and opens the door, and it is dark and dingy. I see the horizontal seat. It has 2 holes. Mine has 3, Dickie said. That's because we're a bigger family than you. These toilets, sir, you're so far from the house, aren't they? They most certainly are, and when it rains, it's even farther. Now, the thing to do, the thing that I don't like, he said, "Now those rats, you see those holes? They're sloped to the back. Come around here and I'll show you. There. See that little cover? Well, underneath that is you know what? A picture of my bum suspended in that hole for all the rats to see. Do they bite? Only if they're cornered. It's best you go in the morning after they've had a good bite feed. I feel somewhat queasy. Just then the cry of, "Donald! Donald!" is heard. And we reply in unison, "Coming." There's no real hurry. Dickie says, there never is. So we walk back to the back door and sit on the steps. Do we know where you come from? Dickie asks. Oh yes, Windermere Farm, I reply brightly. No, not that. How did we get here? I don't know, and I don't really know what you mean. Well, now, let me tell you a few things before you go to that house of yours. Have you ever seen your mom's bunghole? My mom doesn't have a bunghole. Sure, she does. We've all got bungholes. He steps back, lifts up his shirt, and points. That's not a bunghole, Donald. That's a belly button. He snorts. They told you to. I knew it. I bet you were found under a gooseberry bush, weren't you? Of course. We all were brought by a storm. He laughs at that pauses and looks about him, and then a confidential voice says, "No. Whatever you do, you mustn't let on that you know." And there's another pause. I nod, and he goes on and says, "Have you ever seen a beer bottle?" Of course I have. "Have you ever seen one tapped?" "You mean debunked?" Yeah. That's it. You said it. Said what, I think? Now, picture this. You are in your mommy's tummy and you're gone. You get too big like. So she goes to a doctor. Mine, there's some woman that could do it too. And he says, maybe a doctor. Anyway, using a special tool, he takes out the bum. And out you pop. 'Tis awful messy. Awful painful. They wrap you up, feed you, and gradually you become bigger. It's called growing up. Meanwhile, they put the bone back in and stitch it up with cat's gut, the guts of a cat, so that it's ready for the next baby. Another pause. Well, what do you think? Well, I'm confused, Donald, and I'm upset. I'm a little hurt at my family for lying to me. Of course you are. I was upset too when my brothers told me, but it's all part of growing up. Like suddenly waking up with air on your dink. Air on my dink? I don't want air on my dink. It'll go, Bob. Trust me, it'll go. He laughs, and I'm not only confused, but I'm hurt. Now, Bob, you better go in. Remember, none is our secret, and pretending is theirs. Night, Bob. Night, Donald. See you in the morning. And I enter my new home. I think I've only been in Kehelen for about 6 hours. I feel different already, and Donald is so very knowledgeable. So matter of fact, has all the answers and a huge family. I guess I'm so lucky to have this boy as a friend. The house is filled with furniture in every place that it should be, according to mine. Now, darling, I want you to sleep on the couch for the night, and then tomorrow we'll set you up with your new bedroom. She hugs and kisses me, and I love her so. She's so very good to me. Your cocoa's on the side table. Enjoy. I'm alone. I'm tired. I'm confused. I reach down beside the couch, and I find a treasure. A chamber pot. No nightly visits to the privy for me. I touch my belly button, give thanks for being a man, and I listen to the faint faraway squeaks of the privy rats. Oh, no, no, no. No, 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 no. Those are the squeaks of my beautiful guinea pigs, my pets. I put a hand on my lower part searching for hair. I find none. And wrapped in a feeling of relief, I murmur, thank you, God, and drift into an exhausted sleep. Thank you.
You're not too crude at all. Thank you. You're the real thing. Well, we all enjoyed it very much, Bobby. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself.
Oh.
So that will just about conclude our session today. Please pick up your coffee cups and correctly dispose of them and stack your chairs. And we'll have to see you next week for a Patsy Crack Off. Thank you very much.